I gave my reflection one last critical glance in the small compact mirror, carefully running my fingers through my long blonde hair. The evening breeze had done its best to ruin my efforts, but it would have to do. I slipped the mirror back into my bag, pulled out my phone to check the time, and smiled. I was fashionably late, just enough to not seem overly eager. After taking a deep, steadying breath, I pushed open the door and stepped inside the bar. The place wasn't overly crowded, which I appreciated. A soft murmur of conversations blended with gentle background music, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. I scanned the room, searching for my date. We had never met in person before, but I had studied his profile picture enough times to feel confident I would recognize him. Standing alone near the entrance felt slightly awkward, so I considered heading to the bar to order a drink. Just then, I heard a friendly voice call out, "Stacy, over here." It was Aaron. He was seated at what looked like the best table in the house, tucked comfortably in the corner. 2 drinks were already waiting on the table. One piña colada that he had clearly been enjoying, and an untouched Cosmopolitan sitting in front of the empty chair opposite him. My favorite. He stood up politely as I approached, offering me a warm hug followed by a playful, somewhat theatrical air kiss on each cheek. The gesture made me giggle, instantly melting away my first date nerves. Up close, Aaron was even more attractive than his photos suggested. He wasn't much taller than me, but the first thing that caught my attention was his gorgeous hair, golden brown long, with soft natural curls that looked impeccably cared for. Honestly, most girls I knew would envy those locks, myself included. His skin was smooth and clear, and his eyebrows were perfectly shaped. It was obvious he took great pride in his appearance, a quality I've always found appealing in a man. He wore a sleek, plain black shirt that looked expensive and understated, paired with minimal jewelry, just a simple silver watch on his wrist. His smile was warm, genuine, and instantly put me at ease. "You look great," Aaron said first, his eyes lighting up. "I love your dress." "Thank you," I replied, feeling a blush rise to my cheeks. "You don't look too bad yourself." I slipped off my light jacket, revealing the figure-hugging short red dress underneath, and offered him a polite smile as I settled into my seat. I took my first sip of the Cosmopolitan, perfectly mixed, just the way I liked it. "This is my first time doing anything like this," I admitted. "A blind date, I mean. Although I guess it's not completely blind since we've been chatting on the app. Still, nothing compares to meeting someone in person." "Oh, totally," Aaron agreed. "I was talking to one guy on the app for weeks, but he kept dodging every hint I dropped about actually meeting up. I eventually got tired of waiting and moved on. I'm really glad you were ready to meet." "So am I said, returning his smile. "This place is really nice. I've actually never been here before." "I've been once," he replied, "but only briefly. It was during a hen party night. We were doing one drink in every bar in town. We didn't stay more than 20 minutes anywhere." "Sounds like quite the adventure," I laughed, taking another sip of my drink. "It really was," he chuckled. "Well, it's a pleasure to finally meet you, Stacy." "The pleasure is mine." I paused for a moment before adding, "That is your favorite, right? The Cosmopolitan." "Yes, it is." "How did you know?" I asked, genuinely curious. "You mentioned it on your profile," he said with a grin. Of course. I clearly don't have anything more interesting to talk about on there than my favorite cocktails," I joked. "I'm sure that's not true," Aaron laughed. "We'll find out soon enough." I took another generous sip of my drink, feeling more relaxed by the minute. "I seem to remember your profile catching my eye too. It must have been that picture you posted." "Oh, God, that old mugshot? It's terrible. I look like I'm about to be interrogated by the police," he said dramatically. "No, not at all. You look great in it," I assured him. "By the way, I love your hair. Although I'm sure you hear that all the time." "Yeah, occasionally," he admitted, running a hand through his golden brown waves. "It takes a lot of maintenance, though. I'm practically best friends with my salon at this point, but it's worth it." "Totally worth it." I nodded in agreement. "How's your drink?" he asked. "Amazing. How's yours?" "Really good. I love a piña colada, especially when it comes with a little umbrella on top like this one," he said, giving the tiny paper umbrella a playful twirl. We both chuckled. The conversation was flowing easily. So, what do you do with your time? I asked, genuinely interested. You never mentioned your job on your profile, and we didn't really talk about it while texting either. Aaron shifted slightly in his chair and set his drink down, looking thoughtful. I tend not to bring it up right away. I don't want to scare people off before they get to know me a little. Oh, now I'm intrigued, I said, leaning forward. What is it? Do you work for the government? Is it top secret? He laughed. Nothing like that. Then what do you do? I asked, my curiosity fully piqued. I guess you could call me an entertainer, he began. I perform on stage regularly, singing, dancing, a bit of acting here and there. I also host events, make special guest appearances, and do some modeling, which is always a lot of fun. A model and a singer? That's impressive, I said, genuinely amazed. Well, singing is only part of it, he continued. It depends on the theme of the show. Classic hits, modern songs, show tunes. I also host a karaoke night twice a month, so I usually just go with whatever the crowd requests. That sounds amazing. Where do you perform? Do you have a regular gig? I asked. I work 1 or 2 nights a week at the Sparkle Club, usually on weekends. I'm their regular headline act. The Sparkle Club? I repeated, slightly surprised. I've heard of it, but I've never been. Isn't that a gay club? Yes, it is, Aaron replied with a small, slightly awkward smile. Oh, okay, fair enough, I said, trying to sound casual. Wherever you're wanted, I suppose. Whatever pays the bills. Indeed, he nodded, though the conversation seemed to hit a small pause. I'm a bit surprised, though, I added honestly. About what? Just a place like the Sparkle Club. I would have expected their headline act to be a bit more flamboyant. No offense. None taken, Aaron said, suddenly starting to giggle to himself. What's so funny? I asked, confused. Oh, nothing, he replied, still laughing softly. Then, with dramatic flair, he tipped his head back and flicked his beautiful hair over his shoulder. It's just that I am flamboyant. I'm a drag queen. I froze for a second, completely stunned by the revelation. I could feel my cheeks burning as I realized how my earlier comments might have sounded. Oh my God, really? I managed to say. Yes, really, he confirmed, still smiling. So, that's your actual job? I asked, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. It was a silly question, but my brain was still processing. It is my job, yes, he laughed. Wow. So you make a living dressing up as a woman? I said, then immediately regretted how blunt it sounded. Pretty much, Aaron replied, clearly amused by my reaction. He seemed much more relaxed now that the truth was out. I'm sorry. I'm just shocked, I mumbled, taking a big sip of my Cosmopolitan to steady myself. My mouth had suddenly gone dry. It's fine, he reassured me kindly. It's not what most people expect when they first meet me. It's always a surprise. I just assumed all drag queens were gay, I admitted, not wanting to sound stereotypical, but failing a little. Most are, he said with a casual shrug. I just like to be different, I guess. I was finally starting to recover from the initial shock and felt a wave of curiosity wash over me. So, what's your queen name? For a long time, I've been known as Amanda Hugankis, he said with a theatrical flourish. I've been trying to move away from it a bit recently, but I still use it when I'm competing in drag shows. Oh my God, Amanda Hugankis? That's absolutely brilliant. I couldn't help but burst into giggles at the clever pun. I love it. Thanks, Aaron replied with a proud grin. It was fun being Amanda Hugankis for a long time, but lately people have started knowing me as Queen Amanda, or just Amanda for some of my other work. I've also picked up a nickname that appears on quite a few of the posters now, the Petticoat Queen. The Petticoat Queen? I repeated, intrigued. Yeah, because I have this huge obsession with vintage dresses and layers of petticoats. The bigger and fluffier, the better, he explained, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. I have like 1,000 questions I want to ask you right now, I admitted, leaning forward with genuine excitement. It's fine, most people do. Aaron laughed warmly. You can ask me anything you like, but only if we get to talk about you too. Deal? Deal, I smiled. You certainly have the hair for this kind of work, but I still never would have guessed in a million years. Tell me about your actual job then, Aaron said, smiling as he took the last sip of his cocktail. I work in a bank, I replied. You don't look like the type to work in a bank, he teased, raising an eyebrow playfully. Well, I'm full of surprises too, I shot back, laughing. Another drink, he offered. Sure, same again, please. Aaron stood up and headed toward the bar. I watched him closely until he disappeared behind a large pillar. My mind was still spinning. He was undeniably good-looking, exactly my type, and he had already made me laugh more in 20 minutes than most guys had in the past 6 months. But now that I knew what he did for a living, I wasn't entirely sure what to think or feel about him. A few minutes later, he returned with our second round of cocktails and slid back into his seat with an easy smile. So tell me about mortgages, he joked, and we both burst out laughing. The next day was Saturday. I was woken just after 9 a.m. by my phone ringing persistently. Warm sunlight was already filtering through the curtains, and I knew once I opened my eyes there would be no going back to sleep. Reluctantly, I reached for the phone. Hello, I answered, my voice still groggy and thick with sleep. So how did it go? Diane's excited voice burst through the speaker. Tell me everything. Is he as handsome as he looks in his photos? Where did he take you? Did he take you home? Oh my God, you're at his place right now, aren't you? Diane, calm down, I groaned, rubbing my eyes. No, I'm not at his place. It was only a first date, but we had a really nice time. I genuinely enjoyed it, and yes, he's even more handsome in real life. Amazing! So are you going to see him again? Yes, we're going out again next Friday. Finally, Stacy. I told you this would be the one. It's about time you had some luck finding a decent man. Well, it's still early days, so I'm not getting too excited yet, I said cautiously. I do like Aaron, but he's different. Different how? Diane asked, her curiosity immediately piqued. He just is. Like no other guy I've ever met before. Wow. Get you, she laughed. I'm really chuffed for you, Stacy. So tell me more. Did you find out what he does for a job? I paused and took a deep breath, knowing this was going to get a reaction. Yes, he told me. He's a drag queen. There was a long, stunned silence on the other end of the line. Sorry, Stacy, for a second there I thought you said he's a drag queen. I did say that. I laughed. So he's gay then? Why on earth is he taking you out on a date? He's not gay, I insisted. Oh, come on, of course he is. He's a drag queen. You really do know how to pick them, don't you, Stacy? Diane teased. I know it's a little different, but I actually think it's kind of fun, I replied, though my voice didn't sound completely convinced even to my own ears. Come on, you don't seem sure yourself. How are you going to convince me when you're still trying to convince yourself? She challenged. It's taking a bit of time to get my head around it, I admit, I said honestly. That can't be his only job, surely? Diane continued. It is. He's a professional drag queen. He works a couple of nights a week at the Sparkle Club, plus private bookings and promotional events. He also does some modeling. Have you seen him yet? I mean, as a woman? Not yet, I admitted. He was actually quite reluctant to tell me about his job at first, because he knew it would take over the whole conversation. Once he did tell me, obviously I was shocked and had loads of questions, but we still spent plenty of time talking about me too. Talking about banking? Diane laughed. Yeah, I chuckled along. I knew you'd take the piss, but I don't care. So, what's his queen name? She asked. Amanda Hugankis, I replied. Amanda what? Amanda Hugankis? Diane repeated, bursting into laughter. That's so gay. He's also sometimes known as the Petticoat Queen, I added. Even more gay, she howled. Diane, come on. I think it's fun. I'm seeing him again, and I'd really like your support, please. Of course, hun. I'm sorry, I'm only teasing. Just promise me one thing. What's that? When you're with him, try to keep your knickers on. Why? I asked, already knowing I was walking into a trap. Because the second you take them off, he'll probably steal them to add to his collection, she said wickedly. I wanted to be annoyed with her, but I couldn't help laughing. Right, I've got to go. Chat to you later. See you, Stacy. I put the phone down and rolled over in bed, closing my eyes in a hopeless attempt to drift back to sleep. But I was now far too awake, my mind buzzing with thoughts of Aaron. Exactly 1 week later, for our second date, I wore my favorite little black dress and felt genuinely excited to see Aaron again. This time, he took me to a cozy Italian restaurant that he promised served the best food in town, and he wasn't exaggerating. The meal was outstanding, and the company was even better. We chatted effortlessly, like we had known each other for much longer than just 2 dates. He seemed sincerely interested in every detail of my life, even the parts that others might find ordinary or boring. He kept making me giggle, and I couldn't stop smiling the entire evening. I was starting to really like him. But at the back of my mind, the whole drag queen thing still lingered, and I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about it yet. Aaron looked smart and handsome in a dark blue shirt and black trousers, playing the perfect gentleman all night. Despite my protests, he insisted on paying for the entire meal. Not wanting the night to end so soon, we moved to the bar area for after-dinner drinks. It was then that I finally decided to address the topic I had been avoiding all evening. I didn't want it to become the elephant in the room anymore. There was still so much I wanted to know about his life as a drag queen. So, when am I going to meet her? I asked suddenly, my tone playful but direct. Meet who? Aaron replied, pretending to be clueless, though I could see the knowing glint in his eye. You know exactly who, the petticoat queen, I said, probably a little louder than I intended, loud enough for a few nearby tables to glance over. Oh, Aaron laughed, clearly amused. I'm not sure you're ready for that yet. Of course I am, I insisted. Aaron, I hope I haven't been reading this wrong, but I've really enjoyed getting to know you these past 2 weeks. So have I, he interrupted softly. And I'd very much like to see you again after tonight, I continued. So for that reason, I'd say I'm ready to meet Amanda. You can at least show me a picture. Don't make me Google you. Oh God, please don't do that. Aaron laughed, looking slightly awkward. Show me then, I demanded playfully. Okay. He pulled out his phone and scrolled for a moment before turning the screen toward me. Here you go. This was taken last year. I took the phone and stared at the image. On the screen was a stunning, glamorous drag queen wearing a long, figure-hugging mermaid-style dark blue gown covered in shimmering sequins. She had on sky-high heels, long pink silk gloves that reached her elbows, and a dramatic blue feather boa draped elegantly around her shoulders. Her hair was long, bouncy, and platinum blonde, styled to perfection. The makeup was bold and colorful, yet somehow still elegant, not over the top. The background suggested the photo had been taken during a professional photo shoot rather than on stage. Wow, you look incredible, I said sincerely. I love the dress. Here's a fresh, rewritten version of the latest part of your story. I've made it unique with richer descriptions, deeper internal thoughts, smoother dialogue, and expanded details while keeping the natural flow and length. I studied the photo on Aaron's phone carefully for a few long moments before handing it back to him. If I was being completely honest with myself, I felt a little underwhelmed, though I couldn't quite put my finger on why. Thanks, Aaron said. That's just one side of my look, my classic queen style. The sequins, the big feather boas, that's what most people expect when they book me for a show or an event. So, you'd rather be wearing something else? I asked. Yeah, the sparkly stuff is fun for the stage, but there's a lot more to me than that, he explained. I'll show you properly sometime if you want. Can't wait, I replied, forcing a bright smile even as my thoughts swirled. So, I haven't scared you off yet then? Aaron asked, a hint of genuine worry creeping into his voice. Not yet, I teased, giving him a playful wink. You're still doing well. He laughed softly and stood up from the table. Let me get you another drink. Okay, if you insist, I said, leaning back in my seat as I watched him walk toward the bar. The next morning, Saturday arrived just like the previous week. My phone rang loudly right after 9 a.m., jolting me awake. I didn't even need to check the screen to know who it was. Tell me everything. Diane's excitable voice practically shouted down the line the moment I answered. Diane, So nice of you to call me early on a Saturday again. I replied, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Well, if you keep going on dates on Friday nights, you're going to keep getting these Saturday morning wake-up calls, she shot back cheerfully. So, how did it go? I cleared my throat and sat up a little in bed. It was good. The food was really nice, and we stayed in the bar for a couple of hours afterward. Good? That's all you're giving me? Was it okay, or was it actually good? It was better than good, I admitted with a small laugh. We had a fun night. We talked for ages and got to know each other more. He's really great company and he genuinely makes me laugh. But, Diane pressed, sensing my hesitation. But, I'm not sure. He's amazing, but there's still this whole other side to him. He's a woman, Diane blurted out bluntly. Diane,
don't say that.
He's not a woman. He was the perfect gentleman all night. He wouldn't let me pay for anything, and then he walked me all the way home afterward. Did you invite him in? I did, but he declined. He said he had a busy weekend ahead and needed to get home for some proper sleep. I see. So no goodnight kiss then? Well, actually, we did kiss a little bit. Really?
Wow.
How was it? It was fine, I said, trying to sound neutral. Just a kiss. I didn't really feel any spark or anything. Maybe it was the alcohol, or I was tired, or maybe there just wasn't meant to be one. Yeah, maybe, Diane replied thoughtfully. Are you going to see him again? Yeah, next Friday. But honestly, I'm starting to think we might be better off as just friends. He's great company, but I'm not sure there's anything more than that. And if there wasn't a spark when you kissed, maybe it's because he's gay, Diane suggested again. Diane, he's not gay, I sighed. Okay. He just spends most of his time dressed as a woman. Well, yes, I guess so. And you're okay with that? I'm not sure yet, I admitted honestly. Have you seen her yet? Amanda. What's she called again? Amanda Hugankis. Yeah, he showed me a picture. And he looks like a regular drag queen, I said with a small shrug even though she couldn't see me. He was wearing a long blue sequin dress, a feather boa, high heels, the full works. But from everything he told me, I was kind of expecting more. If I'm honest, it's probably a good thing though. How do you mean? Diane asked. Well, he could have looked absolutely stunning as a woman. Even better looking than me. That might have been weird. What girl wants to date a guy who's prettier than she is? But now that I've seen the picture, I can separate the two sides of him. What he does for work and who he is when he's out with me. He's probably got a huge following of gay men wanting a hug and a kiss from Amanda, but at least he doesn't have straight men chasing after her too. Yeah, I think you're right, Diane agreed. As curious as you were to see what Amanda looked like, part of you was probably worried about how far he takes it. So seeing a regular queen might actually help. Exactly. He's a performer, it's just his job.
Right.
Anyway, I've got to go. Enjoy the rest of your day, Stacy. Talk later. With that, Diane hung up. There was no chance of falling back asleep now, so I dragged myself out of bed and headed straight for the shower. In her own direct, no-nonsense way, my best friend had somehow managed to put my mind at ease about both Aaron and Amanda. I decided I would give him one more chance to see if any real spark could develop. If not, I could always suggest we stay friends. Despite everything, I genuinely enjoyed spending time with him, so I found myself looking forward to seeing him again the following Friday. For our third date, we had agreed to meet at Carrington's Cocktail Bar, one of my absolute favorite spots for a night out. Aaron claimed he had never been there before, which I found hard to believe since everyone I knew went there regularly. Still, it gave me the perfect excuse to suggest it, so I wasn't complaining. That night, I went full Sandy from Grease vibes with my outfit. A red strappy top, tight black pants, and my favorite pair of heels. I had put extra effort into my hair too, curling it softly and pinning it back in a flattering style. I had to admit I looked pretty hot. As had become my habit, I arrived a few minutes fashionably late. Just after 8 p.m. Aaron had already texted to say he was there and sitting at a table in the corner. The bar was relatively quiet for Friday night. As I walked in, I scanned the room but couldn't spot Aaron right away. There was a group of smartly dressed lads in shirts and dark jeans standing at the bar waiting to be served. A young couple, clearly on a date, sat by the window gazing into each other's eyes while sharing drinks. And in the far corner sat a glamorous-looking brunette woman in a striking green dress, all by herself. Still no sign of Aaron. I checked the private seating area around the side as well, but nothing. Maybe he had slipped off to the toilet. I glanced at my phone, no new messages. Feeling a bit awkward standing there alone, I started walking toward an empty table to wait. I was just about to sit down when the glamorous brunette stood up from her corner table and began walking straight toward me with a confident smile. "Stacy." "Hi," she said enthusiastically. I turned to face her, completely confused. "Hi. How on earth did this woman know my name?" "I have a table in the corner," she continued warmly, gesturing back to where she had been sitting. "Sorry, I'm actually here to meet someone," I explained, still looking around nervously and hoping Aaron would magically appear any second. "But I don't think he's here yet." "Oh, Aaron couldn't make it tonight," the woman replied with another bright, friendly smile. My heart suddenly skipped a beat as realization hit me like a wave. I recognized that warm smile. I had seen it before. Those beautiful dark green eyes. That gorgeous, perfectly styled hair. "Oh my God, Amanda?" I breathed. "Yes." Amanda giggled excitedly and executed a perfectly rehearsed, graceful curtsy. She looked incredible. She was wearing a stunning vintage-style emerald green halter-neck dress that fell just below the knee, with crisp white petticoats playfully peeking out from underneath. A short-sleeved white cardigan was draped over her shoulders, with 2 buttons fastened to beautifully emphasize her bust, which seemed to have appeared as if by magic. She had paired the look with seam stockings, cute Mary Jane heeled shoes, and was holding a small black vintage handbag. I took a long, careful look at the picture before slowly handing the phone back to him. If I was being completely honest, I felt a little underwhelmed, though I couldn't quite explain why. "Thanks," Aaron said. "That's just one side of it, I guess. My classic queen look. Lots of sequins and feather boas. That's the kind of thing a lot of people expect when they book me for a show." "So you'd rather be in something else?" I asked. "Yeah, the sequins and boas are fun for the stage, but there's so much more to me than that," he replied. "I'll show you properly sometime." "Can't wait," I said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "So, I haven't scared you off then?" Aaron asked, a trace of worry flickering across his face. "Not yet." I winked, trying to keep things light. "You're still doing well so far." He chuckled and stood up from the table. "Let me get you another drink." "Okay, if you insist," I replied, watching him walk over to the bar. The next day was Saturday morning again. Just like the previous week, my phone rang loudly shortly after 9 a.m., pulling me out of sleep. I already knew who it would be before I even answered. "Tell me everything." Diane's excited voice burst through the speaker, almost shouting with anticipation. "Diane, so nice of you to call me early on a Saturday again," I replied, heavy sarcasm coloring my still sleepy tone. "Well, if you keep agreeing to Friday night dates, you're going to keep getting these Saturday morning wake-up calls," she laughed. "So, how did it go?" I cleared my throat and sat up straighter in bed. It was good. The food was excellent, and we stayed at the bar for a couple of hours afterward chatting. "Good? That's all? Was it just okay, or actually good?" "It was better than good," I admitted. "We had a really fun night. We talked for ages and got to know each other even more. He's great company and he genuinely makes me laugh." "But," Diane pressed, sensing the hesitation in my voice. "But, I'm not sure. He's really lovely, but there's still this whole other side to him." "He's a woman," Diane blurted out without missing a beat. "Diane, he's not a woman," I protested. "He was the perfect gentleman all night. He refused to let me pay for anything and even walk me home afterward." "Did you invite him in?" "I did, but he turned it down. He said he had a busy weekend ahead and needed to get home for some proper sleep." "I see. So no goodnight kiss then?" "Actually, we did kiss a little bit." "Really?"
Wow.
"How was it?" "It was fine," I said, my voice lacking any real enthusiasm. "Just a kiss. I didn't feel any spark or butterflies or anything." Maybe it was the alcohol, or I was tired, or maybe there just wasn't meant to be one. Yeah, maybe, Diane replied thoughtfully. So are you seeing him again? Yeah, next Friday. But honestly, I'm starting to think we might be better off as just friends. He's wonderful company, but I'm not sure there's anything romantic there. And if there wasn't a spark when you kissed, maybe it's because he's gay, she suggested again. Diane, he's not gay. I sighed in frustration.
Okay.
He just spends most of his time dressed as a woman. Well, yes, I suppose so. And you're okay with that? I'm honestly not sure yet, I admitted quietly. Have you seen her yet? Amanda. What's her full name again? Amanda Hugankis. Yeah, he showed me a picture the other night. And he looks like a regular drag queen, I said. He was wearing a long blue sequin dress with a feather boa, high heels, the whole expected look. But from everything he told me, I was kind of expecting more. If I'm honest, it's probably a good thing though. How do you mean? Diane asked curiously. Well, he could have looked absolutely stunning as a woman. Even more attractive than me. That might have been a problem. What girl wants to date a guy who's prettier than she is? But now that I've seen the picture, I can separate the two sides of him, his work as Amanda and who he is when he's out with me. He's probably got tons of gay men wanting a hug and a kiss from Amanda, but at least he doesn't have straight men chasing after her too. Yeah, I think you're right, Diane agreed. As curious as you were, part of you was probably nervous about how far he takes it. Seeing a regular queen might actually make it easier.
Exactly.
It's just his job. He's a performer.
Right.
Anyway, I've got to go. Enjoy the rest of your day, Stacy. Talk later. Diane hung up, and any hope of more sleep vanished. I got up and headed straight for a long, hot shower. In her blunt but well-meaning way, my best friend had somehow calmed my racing thoughts about both Aaron and Amanda. I decided I would give him one more chance. If no spark appeared, I could always suggest we stay friends. Despite everything, I really did enjoy his company, so I found myself quietly looking forward to seeing him again the following Friday. For our third date, we had arranged to meet at Carrington's Cocktail Bar, one of my favorite places in town. Aaron claimed he had never been there before, which surprised me since almost everyone I knew went there regularly. Still, it gave me the perfect excuse to suggest it, so I wasn't complaining at all. That night, I channeled my inner Sandy from Greece. I wore a red strappy top, tight black pants, and my favorite pair of heels. I'd curled my hair and pinned it back with extra care. I had to admit, I felt pretty hot. As usual, I arrived a few minutes after 8 p.m. Aaron had already texted to say he was there and sitting at a table in the corner. The bar was relatively quiet for a Friday night. As I stepped inside, I scanned the room but couldn't spot Aaron anywhere. A group of smartly dressed lads stood at the bar waiting to be served. A young couple sat by the window, lost in each other's eyes while sharing drinks. And in the far corner sat a glamorous brunette woman in a striking green dress, all alone. I looked around again, checking the private seating area as well, but there was still no sign of him. Maybe he had gone to the toilet. I checked my phone, no new messages. Feeling awkward standing there by myself, I started walking toward an empty table to wait. I was just about to sit down when the glamorous brunette stood up from her corner table and walked straight toward me with a warm, confident smile. Stacy. Hi, she said enthusiastically. I turned to face her, completely puzzled. Hi. How did this woman know my name? I have a table in the corner, she smiled, gesturing back to where she had been sitting. Sorry, I'm actually here to meet someone, I explained, still glancing around nervously. But I don't think he's arrived yet. Oh. Aaron couldn't make it tonight, the woman replied with another friendly smile. My heart suddenly skipped a beat as the realization hit me. I recognized that warm, familiar smile, those beautiful dark green eyes, that gorgeous hair. Oh my God, Amanda? I whispered. Yes. Amanda giggled excitedly and performed a graceful, well-rehearsed curtsy. She looked absolutely incredible. She was wearing a beautiful vintage-style emerald green halter-neck dress that fell just below the knee, with crisp white petticoats playfully peeking out from underneath. A short-sleeved white cardigan was draped over her shoulders, 2 buttons fastened to accentuate her bust, which seemed to have appeared as if by magic. She wore delicate seam stockings, cute Mary Jane heeled shoes, and carried a small black vintage handbag. Her long, curly hair was held back neatly with a matching green hairband. Her nails were painted a classic bold red, and her makeup was flawless, elegant, and perfectly applied. Sparkly silver earrings dangled gracefully from her ears, and a matching bracelet adorned her left wrist. I was in complete shock, but somehow I managed to follow her back to the table and sit down. "You said you wanted to meet Amanda, so here I am," she said with a bright smile. "I know, but I didn't recognize you at all. You look absolutely stunning." "Well, I've had plenty of practice," Amanda replied modestly. "Yeah, but so have I. I've been a woman for 30 years and I still can't look like that," I said, half joking, half stunned. "You don't mind, do you? Sorry if it's a bit of a surprise. I was thinking about warning you beforehand, but it's definitely a surprise," I admitted, taking a deep breath. "I need a drink." "Sorry, I didn't know what to get you," she said gently. "It's fine." I forced another smile as I stood up quickly and made my way to the bar. I hope no one had noticed my shocked reaction or the embarrassment that followed, though they probably had. I ordered myself a cosmopolitan and carried it back to the table with slightly shaky hands. "You look fantastic, by the way," Amanda said. She was sitting cross-legged, one foot gently rocking back and forth, her petticoats still peeking out charmingly from under her dress. She looked effortlessly feminine. I couldn't stop staring. "Thanks," I replied. "I kind of feel second best right now, though." "I thought since you'd seen my picture the other day, you might like to meet the other side of me," she explained. "The side of you where you look absolutely gorgeous as a woman," I quipped. "Well, yeah." Amanda laughed, though she sounded a little uncomfortable now. There was a definite awkwardness settling between us, something that hadn't happened on any of our previous dates. For the first time, neither of us seemed to know what to say next. Our drinks disappeared quickly, and I wasn't sure how the rest of the night was going to unfold. I decided to break the silence. "So, how long have you been doing this exactly?" "I started trying on my mom's dresses in secret when I was about 12. She caught me when I was 13. By 16, I was experimenting with makeup, and in my early 20s, I was going out to gay clubs every weekend in drag. For a while, Amanda was just a part-time thing, but 5 years ago, I quit my office job and became a full-time queen. It's always been a bit of an obsession, but I try not to let it completely take over my life. I have a life as Erin too. That's why I asked you out as myself first, without bringing Amanda into it right away." "I see," I said quietly. Everything he told me sounded perfectly reasonable, but there were still so many unknowns about the life he led. "How did your past girlfriends cope with the whole drag queen thing?" I asked. "There haven't been many, to be honest. I know it's not something a lot of people feel comfortable with, and that's fair enough. But I've had a couple of relationships where it worked well for a while." "And you're comfortable being involved with the whole gay scene? Everyone must assume you're gay, so for someone who isn't, that must be difficult." "It's something I've done for a long time, so I'm used to it," Amanda replied calmly. "I'm totally comfortable with who I am, and that helps a lot. I've built up a large fan base of both gay and straight people. I see myself as an artist, and dressing as a woman is my art. The fact that people enjoy what I do makes all the hard work worthwhile. Someone even started a fan club for me recently." "Wow, okay," I murmured, taking another sip of my drink. All I could hear in my head were Diane's words. Could I really be the kind of woman who dated a guy who was more attractive than I was? The thought made me feel stressed. A hot flush crept up my neck. The noise in the bar suddenly felt overwhelming, and I struggled to concentrate. "I'm so sorry. I have to go," I said abruptly, standing up and grabbing my purse. "Stacy, no, don't go," Amanda pleaded, rising quickly from her seat. "I'm sorry," I whispered, turning away and heading straight for the exit. I was almost in tears. I felt terrible for walking out on her like that. It wasn't fair, but I just couldn't cope anymore. I flagged down a taxi and went straight home. It was barely past 11 p.m. when I crawled into bed. I felt so embarrassed and ashamed of myself. I knew Diane would call in the morning wanting all the details, and I had no idea how I was going to explain it when I could barely explain it to myself. I turned my phone off and cried myself to sleep. The next day I woke just after 9 a.m., more out of habit than anything else. I turned my phone on and immediately saw a missed call from Diane and a simple text from Aaron asking if we could talk. I didn't want to ignore him, but I wasn't ready to face the fallout from last night just yet. I had a quick shower and went downstairs to sit in front of the television, planning to do absolutely nothing all day. But curiosity soon got the better of me. I reached for my laptop and searched for the Amanda Hugankis fan club page. I was stunned to discover it had, well, over 1,000 members. I was instantly faced with hundreds of photographs, each accompanied by glowing comments from adoring fans. The photos were sorted into different categories, showcasing every side of Amanda's drag personality. Some were professionally shot, others taken by fans at shows and events. There were sections dedicated to her performances at the Sparkle Club, her modeling work, her appearances at various Pride events, and even a whole gallery of her wearing beautiful wedding dresses on multiple occasions. Each photograph left me speechless. The dresses were exquisite, every style and color imaginable. I felt a strange pang of jealousy. She looked so comfortable and confident on stage and in front of the camera. In some photos, she played the over-the-top, glamorous drag queen her fans clearly loved, while in others she appeared as a strikingly beautiful woman, just like she had looked the night before at the bar. These pictures were 1,000 times better than the ones she had shown me on her phone. It made me wonder why she had chosen such an average shot when she had all these stunning images available. The comments were incredibly complimentary and came from all kinds of people: women, men, gay and straight. I didn't know what to think anymore. I had unwittingly stepped into a world I barely knew existed. Diane rang again, but I ignored the call and texted her that I'd catch up later. I kept staring at the screen, contemplating whether I should call or text Aaron. Before I could decide, he texted me again, asking if we could talk. I replied that I was busy, then instantly regretted brushing him off so easily. I just didn't know how to fix this situation. It got to early evening. By early afternoon, I finally decided I couldn't put it off any longer. I had to see Aaron and confront whatever feelings I had about Amanda. If I didn't face this now, I risked destroying any chance of friendship, let alone anything romantic. Though after the way I had behaved the night before, I was almost certain that ship had already sailed. I quickly threw on some clothes, grabbed my bag, and left the house. I had never been to his flat before, but he had mentioned roughly where it was. My plan was simple: go there, talk to him face to face, and apologize properly for walking out on him. It took about 15 minutes of following my instincts and then relying on my phone's GPS to finally reach his apartment complex. His flat was number 4. I remembered him saying that 4 was his lucky number, so it had stuck in my mind. The main gate was open, and I found his door easily along the corridor. I paused for a moment, heart pounding, then knocked firmly. I waited what felt like forever. Eventually, I heard movement inside, and the door swung open. "Stacy, hi," came the voice. I gasped as a sudden rush of electricity tingled up my spine. Butterflies exploded in my stomach. The spark I had desperately hoped to feel when we kissed last week had finally arrived, strong and undeniable. Except it wasn't Aaron standing in the doorway. It was Amanda. She looked breathtaking. She was wearing a long, flowing pink maxi dress with a simple white shawl draped gently over her shoulders. Her hair was pulled back into a neat ponytail that still managed to look effortlessly fantastic. She had light but flawless makeup on, and her perfume was soft, feminine, and beautifully delicate. "I didn't know you were coming, otherwise I would have," Amanda began, clearly surprised to see me standing there. "No, it's fine," I interrupted, my voice softer than I expected. "You look amazing, like you always do." "Do you want to come in?" she asked. "That's why I'm here," I joked lightly. Amanda stepped aside with a graceful smile and welcomed me into her flat. It opened straight into a large, open-plan living space and kitchen, with more rooms branching off down a corridor. The place was incredibly neat and tidy, with tasteful artwork hanging on the walls and a pleasant floral scent drifting through the air from a scented candle. I took a seat on the large, comfortable couch. Amanda joined me a few seconds later, sitting close beside me. "I'm so sorry about last night," she started. "Don't be silly," I said quickly. "I'm the one who should be apologizing. I was the one who walked out and left you sitting there." "Yes, but it was because of me that you did it," Amanda replied gently. "I should have asked if you were ready to see all of this. It was probably too soon, and now here you are the very next day having to face it again." "It's fine, honestly. It really is," I assured her. "What happened last night? I was just shocked when I saw you dressed like that. I wasn't expecting it at all. Plus, something my friend Diane said last week had been stuck in my head. But then this morning I started thinking about everything, and when you opened the door just now, it all suddenly became much clearer." "What did?" Amanda asked curiously, tilting her head. "I like you," I said, my voice steady despite the nerves. "I mean, I really like you." "I like you too," she replied softly. "Last night I got completely freaked out by the idea of dating a guy who is clearly more attractive than me as a woman. You looked absolutely incredible. And this morning I looked at your fan club page and saw all those photos. Just wow. I don't know what to say, but please just hear me out." "Okay," Amanda said, listening carefully. Spending time with Erin was fun, but it felt like catching up with an old school friend. But meeting Amanda, seeing how comfortable, confident, and amazing you are when you're her, it was so exciting. I know my reaction last night didn't show it. I was confused and overwhelmed. But ever since you first told me you were a drag queen, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Seeing you last night, and again today, it gave me butterflies. Real ones. I've fallen for you. I've fallen for the man who wants to have a relationship with her."
Wow.
"I don't know what to say," Amanda muttered, clearly lost for words. "Then don't say anything," I giggled. "Just stand up." "Huh. Stand up and close your eyes," I insisted. Once I was sure Amanda had closed her eyes, I took both of her hands gently in mine. I paused for a heartbeat, then leaned in and kissed her. Amanda smiled against my lips as she realized what was happening. We kissed again, deeper this time, and soon our arms were wrapped around each other. Another powerful spark shot down my spine. Amanda felt it too. "Oh my," she breathed, still struggling to find the right words. "I know, right?" I giggled as we collapsed back onto the couch together, still holding each other. "Honestly, after last night, I thought you'd never want to see me again," Amanda admitted. "I know I handled it badly, but I'm like that sometimes, typical woman." "I'm sure you understand," I teased. "We'll have to go back to that bar sometime so we can actually finish our cocktails." "I'd like that," Amanda giggled in her usual playful way. "I do quite like that place. In fact, after you left, a group of lads came over and offered to buy me drinks. I was tempted, but..." "What?" I sounded more dramatic than I felt, but I couldn't help it. "I politely declined," she laughed. "Lads like that aren't my type. Half of them were wearing shoes with no socks. How disgusting is that?" "Oh God, yeah. I hate that." I agreed, and we both burst into giggles while holding each other's hands. "So, who is your type then?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "You," Amanda replied simply, before leaning in to kiss me again. "So, are you going to give me the grand tour, or what?" I asked playfully. "I'm guessing one of these rooms is crammed full of all your amazing dresses." "Oh, absolutely. You're going to love it," she grinned. "I'll even show you my petticoat cupboard." "You have a petticoat cupboard?"
Hell yeah.
"They don't call me the petticoat queen for nothing," she said with a wink. The house lights at the Sparkle Club suddenly dipped, and the bright stage lights flared to life. The compere for the evening, a well-groomed man in a sharp pink tuxedo, stepped confidently onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen of the Sparkle Club, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Please welcome to the stage, Queen Amanda." A huge cheer erupted from the crowd as Amanda made her entrance. She paused briefly to greet the compere with a flamboyant air kiss, then waved playfully to the audience as she glided to her starting position. She looked magnificent. She was wearing a long, golden evening gown that dripped with shimmering sequins. It hugged her figure tightly around the bust and waist before flaring out into a gloriously layered skirt. Her gold strappy heels peeked out elegantly with every step. Her hair, now a rich chocolate cherry brunette, was styled up beautifully and held in place with a combination of pins and a sparkling tiara. Her makeup was flawless as always, striking red lipstick paired with glittery eyeshadow that caught the light perfectly. The music started, and 6 backing dancers joined her on stage. They were all well-built, very handsome men, shirtless and wearing tight black pants that left very little to the imagination. "Let's go, girls," Amanda screamed joyfully as she launched into a perfectly rehearsed dance routine. The crowd went absolutely wild. "Oh my God," Diane shouted, her mouth hanging open. She was rarely speechless, but right now she was very close. "I know, right?" I giggled excitedly beside her. "The best thing about being a woman," Amanda sang out confidently during the number, "is the prerogative to have a little fun." At one point, she was lifted completely off her feet by her half-naked dancers, using every bit of style and confidence she possessed. Her voice was powerful and captivating, effortlessly holding the entire audience in the palm of her hand. "Oh, oh, oh, get in the action, feel the attraction, color my hair, do what I dare. Oh, 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 I want to be free. Yeah, to feel the way I feel.
Man,
I feel like a woman." Diane and I were seated at the best VIP table right in the center, front and center stage, easily the finest seats in the house. Most people who had been sitting had now risen to their feet, and a large crowd had gathered in the open space directly in front of the stage. Everyone was singing along at the top of their lungs, completely mesmerized by Amanda. "I get totally crazy. Can you feel it? Come on, baby. I feel like a woman." As the song reached its climax, colorful confetti rained down from the ceiling. Amanda's dancers froze in perfect formation around her, dropping dramatically to their knees and bowing to their queen. The crowd erupted in wild cheers and thunderous applause. Amanda giggled with pure delight, clearly thriving in the moment. "Good evening, everyone," she called out, waving excitedly at the audience and giving a little extra playful attention to the fans pressed against the front of the stage. "That was incredible," I shouted, turning to Diane to see her reaction. She was clapping, but noticeably less enthusiastically than the rest of the room. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah," she replied with a small smile. Amanda then launched into her next number, "I'm a Woman" by Peggy Lee. Her dancers sprang back into action with a fresh, energetic choreographed routine. "'Cause I'm a woman, W, I'll say it again. 'Cause I'm a woman, W, and that's all." By the end of the song, even those who had stayed seated were now on their feet, applauding loudly. Shouts of "We love you, Amanda," echoed through the club. "I love you too," she responded with her signature girly chuckle, pausing for a moment to catch her breath. "Well, aren't you a beautiful audience tonight? Almost as beautiful as my dancers. I don't know where we find them. Heaven, I think." The crowd cheered wildly. She was flirting shamelessly with her dancers, and it only became more fitting when she launched into the Diana Ross classic, Chain Reaction. "Oh, I love this one." Diane suddenly perked up, becoming far more animated. "Me too," I replied. We were both dancing in our seats now. "I'm in the middle of a chain reaction. You give me all the after midnight action. I want to get you where I can let you make all that love to me." At the end of the song, Amanda dashed off stage while her dancers continued performing during the musical reprise. "Where's she gone?" Diane leaned over and asked curiously. "You'll see," I replied with a knowing smile. We didn't have to wait long. Less than 2 minutes later, Amanda reappeared to loud gasps and cheers. In what seemed like pure magic, she had completely transformed. She was no longer the glittering golden diva. Instead, she had become a breathtaking fairy tale princess. She wore a full-length baby blue Cinderella-style prom dress with layer upon layer of voluminous petticoats underneath. Long white silk gloves reached her elbows, complemented by a stunning silver necklace and matching drop earrings. Gorgeous silver strappy heels completed the look, and her hair was now down, crowned with another sparkling silver tiara. For a few moments, she simply stood still at the center of the stage, soaking in the applause while dozens of phone cameras flashed around her. During that short time, her dancers had slipped off stage unnoticed. They soon returned wearing matching crisp white shirts, black waistcoats, and bow ties, a much classier, more sophisticated look for the second half of the show. All eyes remained locked on Amanda, of course. As the applause finally began to fade, she launched into her signature song, ABBA's Dancing Queen. You can dance, you can jive, having the time of your life. You see that girl, watch that scene, dig in the Dancing Queen. The crowd lost their minds. It was the perfect song for her. Amanda moved effortlessly and gracefully around the stage in her enormous dress, occasionally taking the arm of one of her dancers. She was completely in her element. More confetti showered down as the song ended, met with even louder cheering and applause. "Thank you. You're all so kind," she said, catching her breath. "That's one of my favorite songs. I've wanted to be the Dancing Queen ever since I was a little boy," she giggled, and the audience laughed along with her. "And tonight, I am. So, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to sing it for you." "Okay, I want to sit down for the next one," she announced playfully. In a perfectly timed, choreographed moment, Amanda turned around as a large red velvet throne was wheeled onto the stage by two assistants. They placed it in the center and quickly disappeared. Two of her dancers then took her hands and escorted her gracefully to the throne, helping her sit down as her massive dress and petticoats puffed up beautifully around her. "That's better," she smiled, settling in like true royalty. Her dancers gathered around the throne in formation, some standing tall, others kneeling at her feet. There was no doubt who the queen was and who her loyal subjects were. The music slowed, and she began singing Madonna's What It Feels Like for a Girl. It was a more thoughtful, emotional song compared to the high-energy numbers before it, but she performed it beautifully. Do you know what it feels like for a girl? Do you know what it feels like in this world for a girl? The room exploded into applause once again when the song ended. Amanda took the hand of one of her dancers and rose from the throne, turning her attention to the adoring fans right at the front. Some looked close to tears, clearly her most dedicated followers who attended every show and later posted photos on the fan club page. "Well, this has been fun, hasn't it?" she said, taking a deep breath. The crowd cheered loudly. No one wanted the night to end. "We should do this again sometime, don't you think?" The audience roared in agreement. "Okay, this is my last song, but stick around afterward. Have another drink and come say hi. I'll be right over there sharing a cocktail with those two lovely ladies," Amanda said, pointing directly at Diane and me. For a brief moment, I felt the eyes of the entire room on us. Thankfully, it didn't last long. The music kicked in again as Amanda launched into her final song with her dancers performing one last energetic routine. "Thank you all for coming. I'm Queen Amanda, and this is the SHSHSH song. Does he love me? I want to know. How can I tell if he loves me so? Is it in his eyes? Oh no, you'll be deceived. Oh whoa, it's in his kiss. That's where it is." Ending the show with a Cher song was perfect. She was a gay icon and a crowd favorite, and now it seemed Amanda was too. As she hit her final note, one last shower of confetti cascaded down. She took a deep bow, shared kisses and hugs with each of her dancers, and soaked in the endless applause before finally leaving the stage. The house lights came up. "So, what do you think?" I turned to Diane, desperately hoping she had enjoyed herself. "Oh my God, Stacy, that was amazing," Diane said, still catching her breath. "I knew you said she was good, but I had no idea she was that good. That was incredible. Easily one of the best shows I've ever seen." Diane sat back down, looking almost speechless. There was no doubt about it. She had been completely won over by Amanda's performance tonight. A lively buzz filled the club after the show. The house DJ switched to easy listening lounge music, creating the perfect atmosphere for people to chat and mingle. The room was alive with energy. Half a dozen drag queens in towering wigs and sparkling dresses stood together complimenting each other's outfits. Groups of men in tight shirts and skinny jeans were hugging and giving theatrical air kisses. There were also several groups of women, possibly on hen nights or just enjoying a regular Saturday out, dancing enthusiastically while clutching handbags in one hand and champagne glasses in the other. This was our first time at the Sparkle Club. Amanda had given me a private run-through of her performance at her flat a few days earlier, so I already knew she could sing. But nothing could have prepared me for how spectacular the full stage show was. She was at the very top of her game. Was I a little jealous when she flirted with her shirtless dancers? Of course I was.
But I knew it was just part of the act.
And despite everything, I absolutely adored Amanda. We had now been officially dating for 6 weeks, and I was thrilled we were finally in a real relationship. A few minutes later, an excited cheer rose from the fans still gathered at the front as the stage door opened. Amanda emerged, having changed once again into a beautiful white vintage dress, with her signature petticoats bouncing playfully underneath as she walked. She gave warm hugs and kisses to the other drag queens and many of the gay men who had been waiting for her. After chatting with her fans for a couple of minutes, she made her way over to the VIP area where Diane and I were sitting. "Hey you," she said, coming straight to me for a huge hug and a kiss. "You were incredible," I replied excitedly. "Thank you," Amanda smiled, kissing me again before taking the seat next to me. "Hey Diane," she added warmly. "Hey Amanda, you were great," Diane replied. "Not too gay for you, I hope?" Amanda quipped with a grin. "Oh, that was the gayest thing I've ever seen, but I loved it," Diane laughed. "Good to hear." Amanda smiled and took a sip of water she had brought with her. "Oh my God, that Cinderella dress," I said, moving my chair closer to hers and slipping my hand into hers under the table. "You said you had something special planned for the second half, but wow." "I know, right? I've been planning that dancing queen routine for a while, and I had that dress made especially. Lucia only finished it on Thursday." "Who's Lucia?" Diane asked. "She's my dressmaker," Amanda replied casually. "You have your own dressmaker?" Diane exclaimed. "I have several, but Lucia is my favorite. The dresses she's made for me over the years are just divine. You definitely won't find anything like them in regular shops." "Well, I'm definitely trying that one on tomorrow." "I don't care what you say," I laughed. "I'm sure that's the only reason you're with me, for my wardrobe," Amanda joked. "It's not the only reason." I winked, leaning over to kiss her again while gently squeezing her hand under the table. We were interrupted when someone approached our table. I recognized him as one of the dancers from the show. He had changed into a bright purple shirt and smart black trousers. "Well, isn't this a pretty picture?" he said, not waiting for an invitation before sitting down in the spare chair on the other side of Amanda. "Oh, Cal, hi." Amanda turned and gave him a slightly awkward hug. "Stacy, Diane, this is Callum." "Cal, this is Stacy and Diane." "Stacy, I've heard lots about you," Callum said with a giggle. Finally, a woman willing to take on the challenge of saving Aaron's love life. "Yes, that's me," I replied politely, not entirely sure how serious he was or what exactly he meant. "Callum is one of my dancers. We've been working together on and off for a few years now," Amanda explained. "Oh, come on, Aaron. I'm more to you than that, surely?" Callum teased. "Okay, well, we're good friends too," Amanda replied. "You're a very good dancer, Callum," Diane said, making a timely interruption.
"Thank you, Diane."
"Oh, I like you," Callum replied in an overly camp, flirtatious tone. "Cal, behave," Amanda said lightly. A short, slightly awkward silence followed, which was broken when Diane and I excused ourselves to go to the bathroom together. When we returned, Amanda and Callum were deep in conversation about something, but they quickly stopped talking the moment we sat back down. "Okay, well, I'll leave you 3 ladies to it." "Well, 2.5 ladies," Callum laughed as he stood up. "Nice to meet you, Stacy and Diane." "See you later, Amanda." Callum left as quickly as he had appeared. Amanda had clearly felt a bit uncomfortable in his presence and seemed relieved when he was gone. The night was winding down, so Diane and I finished our drinks. Amanda dashed backstage to collect her things, still wearing her white vintage dress, but now with a big pink faux fur coat draped over it and carrying a matching white vintage handbag. We met her outside the club entrance and climbed into a waiting taxi. After dropping Diane off at her house first, we continued on to Amanda's flat, where I was staying the night. It was late, but we were both still buzzing from the incredible evening and not quite ready for bed. We collapsed onto the couch together, Amanda still in her white dress and petticoats, me in my much simpler, strappy blue dress. "It's nice to finally be by ourselves," Amanda said softly, gently stroking the back of my neck. "Really good night," I replied, accompanying the words with a soft kiss on her cheek. "You were amazing." "Years of practice," she smiled. "Callum's an interesting guy, though," I added. "Why do you say that?" Amanda asked, sounding slightly hesitant. "He called you Aaron, for starters. And he seemed a bit rude when he was leaving." "Oh, that's just the way he is. We've known each other a while. I guess he knows me better than some of the other people I work with. Although tonight was the first time he's danced for me in ages." "I see. So there's nothing else going on between you? He's not a rival queen or anything. From what I've heard, you guys can get quite competitive sometimes." "No, nothing like that," Amanda said, then paused. But what? "I'll be honest with you, Stacy. I don't want to start our relationship with any secrets. Callum is my ex. We dated for 6 months a couple of years ago."
Dated.
I sat up on the couch, ending the close cuddle we had been sharing.
Yes.
"We met when he started dancing for me. We spent a lot of time together and got close. It was never really going to work out, though. We were just too different as people. You've seen what he's like." "So, you date men as well as women, then?" I asked, nervous about what the answer might be. "No, well, not anymore. Not since Cal. After we broke up, I took some time to reflect and figure out what I really wanted from life. I decided I was ready for something serious, a real relationship with someone I could hopefully settle down with one day. Callum wasn't interested in any of that. I also realized that what I truly wanted was to be with a woman." "I see," I said softly. "So, why does he still dance for you then?" I didn't know he was still with the group when I asked them to perform in my show.
I thought he'd left.
When he turned up at rehearsal, I was pretty shocked, but we kept things professional. "I never knew you were into guys," I admitted. "I thought it was just part of your act." "I'm not anymore," Amanda replied gently. "Yes, I've been with guys before. For a long time when I was younger, I thought I might be gay, but I'm not. I know that now. I am who I am, and I've found real comfort in that. I've been with women too. And when I met you, I knew straight away I was onto something special. You have to trust me, Stacy. You have nothing to worry about. I promise." I wasn't completely convinced, but I was tired and didn't want to dwell on it anymore tonight. I forced a small smile and leaned back in to restart our cuddle. Amanda began gently stroking the back of my neck again. As nice as it felt, I couldn't quite shake the image of Aaron and Callum being together. The next morning, I woke up to Amanda softly stroking my neck and playing with my hair. It was a wonderfully gentle way to start the day. Even in bed, she somehow looked more glamorous than me, her sleek black silk nightdress easily outshining my plain pink cotton pajamas. After several minutes of lazy kissing and cuddling, we both decided we were ready for breakfast. I had slept surprisingly well, and thankfully, all the negative thoughts about Amanda and Callum had faded. I trusted her. What she had done in the past was exactly that, the past. Still in our nightwear, but now wrapped in matching pink silk robes. I didn't ask why she owned 2 identical ones. Amanda buttered toast, squeezed fresh orange juice, and made coffee. It was Sunday, and we had no plans except to spend the entire day together. It was still fairly early when there was a sudden knock at the door. Amanda left me at the kitchen table and returned less than 2 minutes later, wearing a huge grin. "Who was that?" I asked curiously. "Oh, that was Miranda from the Sparkle Club. She just dropped off the dresses I wore last night." "Wow, you have someone drive your dresses around for you? You really are A-list," I laughed. "I wouldn't go that far," she smiled, "but you saw the size of that Cinderella dress. You need a van just to move it around."
True.
"There definitely wasn't room for it in the taxi last night," I added. "You still want to try it on later?" Amanda asked as she sat back down at the table. "Of course," I replied excitedly. I couldn't wait to see those dresses up close. We finished breakfast and took quick showers to freshen up. Amanda changed into pink sweatpants and a plain gray t-shirt, easily the most casual outfit I had ever seen her wear, yet she still looked amazing. Even without makeup, her long, gorgeous hair made her look beautifully feminine. Before I could get properly dressed, Amanda grabbed my hand and dragged me, still wearing nothing but a towel and my robe, into her dressing room. There, hanging proudly, were last night's gowns. "Oh my God," I whispered as I came face to face with a Cinderella dress. "It's even more incredible up close." I reached out to touch the delicate, silky fabric. "It looks deceptively heavy with all those layers." "Well, that's why I have a throne to sit on when I get tired," she joked. "You want to try it on?" Amanda encouraged. "Yes," I said without hesitation. "But first, let me see this one." I moved over to the golden sequined gown she had opened the show with. Up close, it was absolutely breathtaking. The sparkling sequins, the figure-hugging bodice, and the long, dramatic skirt. The stage lights last night hadn't done it justice. "This one's always been a crowd favorite," Amanda explained. "My fans at the Sparkle Club expect sparkle, and that's exactly what they get when I wear this." "I want to try this one on first," I declared. "You sure? It'll turn you into a proper diva."
Yes.
"Absolutely. Transform me into the sparkling queen you were last night." I was buzzing with excitement. Amanda giggled, clearly enjoying this as much as I was. While she took the dress off the hanger and prepared it, I quickly slipped back to the bedroom to put on some underwear. When I returned, she held the gown open for me. I carefully stepped into it, and she slowly pulled it up, tugging at the fastenings and lacing the bodice until it fit snugly around my body. The skirt flared out dramatically, and I suddenly became very aware of my curves in the best possible way. The dress was heavy with all the layers and sewn-on sequins, but it fit almost perfectly. I already felt like a fabulous queen. But Amanda wasn't finished. She disappeared into a cupboard and returned with a big blonde bouffant wig. She tied my hair back tightly, slipped on a wig cap, and carefully placed the wig on my head, securing it with pins. On top of my new dramatic hair, she added the same sparkling tiara she had worn the night before. "Hang on," she said, still not satisfied. She fetched a large makeup bag, rummaged through it, and began working on my face while I stood still with my eyes closed. She swept glittery eyeshadow across my lids, dusted blush on my cheeks, and finished with a bold, lush red lipstick. Then she handed me long gold dangling earrings, which I put on myself. Finally, she pushed a pair of strappy, high heels in front of me. She took my hand and led me over to the large floor-length mirror in the corner. "Well, what do you think?" Amanda stepped back. My transformation was complete. "Oh my God, I love it," I gasped, staring at my reflection in amazement. The dress looked stunning, the slightly flamboyant wig was perfect, and the makeup and accessories tied everything together beautifully. In just over 10 minutes, I had gone from a girl in a towel to a magnificent drag queen. "Now you know what I go through every night," Amanda smiled. "Yes, I do," I giggled, still admiring myself in the mirror. "Now I understand how much fun you're having." Suddenly, there was another knock at the door. I turned to Amanda, hoping it wouldn't cut our dressing-up session short, but she didn't seem too bothered. "It's probably just Bill from security. He sometimes comes around on Sundays to check on the flats. I'll get rid of him." "Okay." I smiled and turned back to the mirror, still mesmerized by how good I looked. I was blissfully unaware of what was actually happening at the front door. A moment later, I heard the door close. Assuming Amanda had successfully sent the security guard away, I picked up the heavy corner of my dress and confidently strutted into the living area like I was making a grand entrance on stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Queen Sissy," I announced dramatically. My heart instantly dropped. Amanda wasn't alone. An older woman with dyed red hair was sitting on the couch. She looked up and saw me. Amanda glanced over and mouthed a silent, "I'm sorry." "Mom, this is Stacy." "Stacy, this is my mom." I felt my face burn with embarrassment. This was definitely not how I had imagined meeting Amanda's mother for the first time. Things quickly got even more awkward. "Oh, hello, Stacy," Nice to meet you, her mom said. Aaron always told me he'd never date another drag queen, but I always knew one day he would. You two must have so much in common. Amanda. And I fell completely silent. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mom, Amanda said quickly, Stacy isn't a drag queen. She was just trying on my dress for a bit of fun. Oh, I see, her mom replied in a calm, almost deadpan tone. So you're all woman then, Stacy? I nodded, mortified. Mom, don't say it like that. Stacy is a woman, yes. And she's my girlfriend. Well, I do apologize, Stacy. It's just quite difficult to tell sometimes with all the people Aaron spends time with these days. You never quite know. It's fine, I muttered, wishing the floor would open up and swallow me whole. Thankfully, Amanda quickly changed the subject. I'll make some tea. I shuffled over to the couch in the massive golden gown and sat down next to her mom. The three of us drank tea together while I remained fully dressed as a drag queen for the next hour, which didn't exactly help convince her I wasn't one. Despite everything Amanda and I said, I got the distinct impression her mom still wasn't entirely sure. An hour or so later, Amanda's mom finally left, and it was just the two of us again. Amanda apologized for the unexpected visit, but I told her it was okay. As embarrassing as it had been at first, it was still nice to finally meet her mother. I knew I would eventually have to introduce Amanda to my own parents, but that could wait for another day. We returned to the dressing room. I changed out of the golden dress and, after making sure we weren't expecting any more surprise visitors, swapped it for the breathtaking Cinderella gown. This time I removed the wig and wiped off the heavy glittery makeup for a softer, more natural look. Once fastened into the dress, I shuffled back into the living area and collapsed onto the couch. The huge skirt spread out dramatically, covering most of the sofa. Amanda joined me, instantly getting swallowed up by the layers of petticoats as she sat down. How do you like this one? She asked. She had changed into a pretty floral skirt. I love it. I feel like an actual princess, I giggled. That's the idea, she smiled. Though I can't imagine doing the dancing queen routine in it. Well, that's the tricky part, she laughed. Hey, can I ask you something? I said, trying to sound more serious. Sure, anything. Why does your mom still call you Aaron? Does she not accept you as Amanda? Oh, she does accept me, Amanda replied gently. But she's just a bit traditional, I guess. It took her a long time to understand the lifestyle I lead. She is supportive of what I do, but she still sees it as just a job. I'm her only child too, so she likes to think she still has a son. I don't really mind what she calls me. Well, if you want to see traditional parenting, just wait until you meet my mom and dad, I added. Amanda laughed a little awkwardly. Has she ever seen one of your shows? I asked, now very curious. Yeah, a couple of times. I think that's why she got a bit confused when she saw you dressed like that. I'm sure we'll laugh about it one day, just not today. I'm glad I met her though, I said. I just wish it had happened a bit differently. She probably left thinking I'm actually a man. Nah, your boobs looked way too realistic, Amanda joked. Yours looked pretty real last night too, by the way, I laughed. Just think, if she'd arrived half an hour earlier, she would have seen you in nothing but a towel. True, I replied, going quiet for a moment. I took Amanda's hand, leaned in despite the mountain of princess dress between us, and kissed her. It was more challenging than it should have been, but it was a sweet, fun moment. What was that for? She asked softly. Just because, I smiled. Hey, I know I go on all the time about how much I adore Amanda and love spending time with her, and it's true, I really do. But I like Aaron too. He's also a lot of fun. So, let's not forget about him. You should just be whoever you want to be, wear whatever you want to wear, and I'll call you whatever you want to be called. It's all fine with me, boy or girl. I love you either way. There was a brief silence as Amanda took in my words. You love me? She giggled. I do.
Yes.
I love both of you. All of you. I love everything about you. Well, I love you too, Stacy. Amanda wrapped her arms around me and pulled me closer. She planted a deep kiss on my lips, and we both collapsed back onto the couch together, lying in a huge sea of white petticoats and silky blue fabric. She continued kissing me and holding me tight, It was one of the happiest moments of my life. I was so in love with this woman, this man, this person. There was no one else in the world I would rather be with. I also loved how wearing this beautiful princess dress made me feel. The golden dress earlier had given me the same wonderful rush. I had been mesmerized by my own transformation and how I looked in the mirror. Even the embarrassing moment with Amanda's mom hadn't taken away the butterflies I felt when I walked out wearing the full look. I closed my eyes and imagined myself standing on stage at the Sparkle Club in front of hundreds of adoring fans, wearing this stunning dress and singing SHSHSH. I picture myself as a glamorous drag queen, and a delicious tingle of excitement ran down my spine. "You okay?" Amanda asked. She had felt me shiver. "Yes," I smiled, closing my eyes again. "Quite okay.